because you do not use your children as pawns to get what you want. It's so wrong and disgusting. I don't even know. Harry is just a broken man, Dan. He is broken in a big way. And I feel sorry for those children. It's bad. It's really bad because it's playing out on the world stage. Everyone's watching what you do, and you're still acting like a spoiled brat. Get over yourself.
Hey, Dinah, Prince Harry is continuing to try and negotiate, or I would use another phrase here, bully to hell, the king in public over this summer visit. And I'm sick of it because it's like, when are you going to learn, man, that it is completely inappropriate and unacceptable, and the king simply will not have it, and the royal family simply will not have it, with you calling up trashy reporters at trashy mainstream media publications to try and force them into doing something they don't want to do. And of course, Pete Diner, it is all because Prince Harry is due in the country next month. He still has no confirmation from the Home Office that he's going to get the taxpayer-funded security. Good. He still has no confirmation from King Charles that Harry will meet him. Good. Because remember, what remains so central to all of this is the threat, which is that if I don't get that, and he said this again, by the way, to the New York Post on page 6 this week, if I don't get that, then I'm not going to come with the children. I'll come on my own. And Charles is thinking, well, why do I want to go through that again? Like, yes, I want to have a relationship with my grandchildren, but I'm not going to interfere in government policy. But the thing I think I find most egregious, P. Diner, is the fact that Harry is either so stupid or so driven by hatred and bitterness that he doesn't understand that this cannot be a public negotiation. And the more he publicly negotiates, the more I think the king, and I pray and hope this is the case, has just decided to wash his hands of the whole thing.
Yeah, he has to, because it's just something that, Harry, at the end of the day, is going to be the one regretting every decision. Once again, using your children as a prop, using them, to get what you want. And, the king can't really go in this back and forth with Harry about this because he's got work to do. He's got his health to focus on. Seeing your grandchildren should just be a natural thing. There should not be any negotiations around seeing your grandchildren. How absurd is that? And at the end of all of this, Dan, Harry is going to regret it so much because you do not use your children as pawns to get what you want. Make it about your children seeing their grandfather. Make it about them having the experience of knowing your father, the king, before, he passes on. That's what it should be about. Why is Harry making like all these games around his children, trying to be this man that gets what he wants all the time and using your children to do it? It's so wrong and disgusting. I don't even know. Harry is just a broken man, Dan. He is broken in a big way. And I feel sorry for those children. I really do, because they're the ones who are going to be the ones losing out and not having these experiences while they're young, because that's when it's meaningful. Because when you get older, you reminisce about when you were young and when you did that. These children are not going to have that with their cousins, and it's all Harry and Meghan's fault. They're the reason. So they need to get a grip. It's bad. It's really bad because it's playing out on the world stage. Everyone's watching what you do, and you're still acting like a spoiled brat. Get over yourself.
Well, 100%, because the thing is, P. Diner, it doesn't even make sense. And this is, again, where Harry thinks just because he's stupid that the rest of the world is stupid and is going to swallow total lies. Because think about this for 1 second. If Harry really cared about the king and really wanted to allow the king to have a meeting with his 2 grandchildren who he has zero relationship with, then it's so simple, P. Diner, what he could do. And I actually believe this could be done in total secrecy as well, without the press needing to know at all. Harry could fly. I mean, he flies by private jet all the time. The time. And I think while a lot of his celebrity friends have decided not to allow them to use private jets in recent months and years because they felt used and they don't want to be part of the whole circus, I honestly believe, Pete Diner, and I'm pretty confident of this, knowing Elton John a little bit, that if Harry called Elton John and said the only way that I can get the children to see the king is with the private jet, I'm pretty sure Elton would, for this special occasion, allow the private jet to be used. And then you know what could happen, Pete Diner? Harry could fly by private jet into Scotland directly. I'm sure the king would happily provide appropriate security for the drive from the airport to Balmoral. Now, we know that drive is only about 90 minutes, and I'm pretty sure the king would happily arrange that. Within the royal estate, P. Diner,
Yes,
He is
right.
completely protected by the
Right.
security. And they
It
could have
makes
a private meeting there with no
Mhm.
photographs, and the king could get to know the two grandchildren at the time over summer when he has the time to do that. But you know
Right.
why Harry won't do that, P. Dinah? Because that's not what this is about. He wants the guarantee of security because that means he gets security forevermore, including, by the way, once
Mhm.
Prince William comes to the throne. So none of
Mhm.
this is about trying to make King Charles happy because, as I say, and I hope I've just explained it okay, there is a
Mhm.
way where if security really was a big deal, now I don't believe it is, by the way, because we've seen, Harry travel to Ukraine. We've seen Meghan on her own in Chicago with no security. We've seen them go to Australia. Security is the excuse, isn't it? Because they want us,
Yeah.
as in the British taxpayer, to have to pay for their security wherever they are in the world. But the point is, I have
Mhm.
just explained how this visit could take place, doing the right thing for the king with no publicity, no photographs, but full security provisions over the course of the visit. There's no need for him and the
Mhm.
children to leave Balmoral. It's a
Right.
massive estate, which is
Yeah.
perfect. I mean, they only have to be there for a few days. He doesn't
Yeah.
need to
It makes
gallivant around the country.
Yeah, you know what? It makes sense, Danny. And I didn't think about this till just now because I know part of the issue as well is Meghan. She does not want Harry to bring the children without her. Like she wants to go, but she doesn't really want to go to England, right? But Harry can't take the children without her. And I think this is why Harry wants to have this special security in place because that is the bar that Meghan has made it where you can go with the children if we have this. And unless we get this security, no children, especially not without her, right? She's making these demands. I think she's part of that because what you just laid out there makes complete sense. Why wouldn't it just would seem logical that he would bring the children under those circumstances? Okay. I mean, goodness knows they've got things that we don't even know about, right? So why can't you do that? And I think a part of that element has to do with Meghan and what she is putting, as an obstacle in front of Harry.
Absolutely, because this briefing came out via the New York Post and its editor at large, Sarah Nathan. And it is coming directly from Montecito, absolutely directly from Montecito. And it's interesting because the New York Post has actually decided to lead on the fact that there's no chance of a meeting with Prince William, sources told Page Six. And it's like, well, we all know that. Like, we all know that. And that is not, that's not the choice of Prince Harry. That is the choice of Prince William. But what is fascinating is all of the detail provided within the story because we know where it's come from. We know it's come directly from Harry and Meghan. So Sarah Nathan reports the Prince's security fight with his homeland's government is still not fully resolved, we're told, despite his hopes the UK Home Office would finally sign off for taxpayer-funded armed security for his wife and children. And the irony here is, again, Prince Harry jumped the gun. He allowed briefing going out to newspapers like the Mail on Sunday, we're definitely going to get security. And again, that didn't please the government. As multiple sources have told us, Harry is keen to reconcile with the royal family. Well, again, he should have thought about that before he trashed them. He was still persona non grata, however, at his cousin Peter Philip's wedding at the weekend. Yes, he was. He wasn't invited. But then we get to the interesting part, P. Dinah. While Harry would love, because it's the threat that I'm talking about, so I just want everyone to read between the lines. While Harry would love to bring Markle and their children, Archie and Lilibet, back to his homeland, sources stress that no firm plans have been made and matters are first focused on the Invictus event. Harry is set to attend the 1 year to go countdown celebration on July the 10th. There have been reports the prince does not have his brother's phone number. However, we're told this is nonsense. But he has not seen William since the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. William's sources said remains furious. He does, and that ain't going to change. Archie was just an infant when he left the UK. Lily has only been to the UK once. Both children have barely met their grandfather, and sources said Harry would love to rectify this. Well, I've explained how he could. And then you get to the sort of Team Harry propaganda, where they report Harry has pleaded for armed protection when visiting the UK, telling the BBC last May that he was devastated to lose a legal challenge over his security. In January, the Daily Mail cited government sources saying his security would be approved, adding it's now a formality. Sources at the Home Office have indicated that security is nailed on for Harry, but Harry and his lawyers have yet to have an update from the Home Office, sources confirmed. We have reached out to Sussex reps for comment, with or without his family. As of yet, there is no agreed time for Harry to meet his dad, we're told. Although we told that Harry believes his father could overrule the government on the issue, sources previously told us it was not a matter for Charles and his courtiers. So again, it's like so much threat included within that as well, P. Dinah, because it's like Harry just will not move on from the fact that his father is not prepared to create a constitutional crisis here. And good on him for putting his foot down.
Yeah, I think he has to because, where will it end? Harry will always keep wanting more and more if his father gives. Now, I have heard that a decision has been made. We just don't know what it is, right? So they are definitely going to, I think, I don't know, announce something maybe soon, but Harry's in a position now where he's just trying to force his father's hand, and the king just cannot fall into that because, you know, behind it, we have to understand, Dan, that Meghan is the one behind Harry making these demands. I think she's the one making it so complicated and difficult. And Harry is just falling into doing what Meghan tells him to do, because, you know, he is kind of like that child that wants what he wants. So it doesn't make sense. It lets me know that Harry is just trying to be complicated, whether or not he is, you know, going to adhere to some things that Meghan wants or not. I think breaking from Meghan into really seeing what is important is what he needs to do at this point. Because you're talking about time. Time is something that you can never get back. And, you know, he regretted the time when his mother passed, the time he could not get back. And once again, he is falling into a position where he is losing out, and time is going to keep going. And, you know, it waits for no one. And it's going to be a huge regret for Harry. And I think it will cause him enormous stress and mental anguish once it is all done, because the time will be gone and he needs to act with urgency. And that means putting aside whatever it is your wife might be telling you, whatever it is that you might want, and thinking about the time that your children are missing out with a man, and the clock is ticking. And what are you going to do when the clock stops and your father is no longer here and your children have not seen him? You know, these are the important things that Harry needs to talk about. This is what a mature man would think and look at. And I think having that Meghan woman on your back, whatever it is that she is saying, you need to break free and you need to make some serious grown-up decisions to bring your children to see their grandfather. That is what is important, nothing else, because you will be taken care of, and you know that. So Harry's got some serious things to do, and it's a shame he's not acting on it with some urgency.
It really is. It really is, P. Dina, because Prince William is talking about how he will change the monarchy when he does take the throne. And despite that wedding reunion last weekend, where he did give a little peck on the cheek to Beatrice, there are clear signs coming from William's camp that the days of Beatrice and Eugenie, for example, enjoying royal perks, like living rent-free in royal properties, will be over. P. Dina, do you think this was the right decision for Prince William's team to quite openly brief against his cousins this week, despite that sort of softening by meeting with them at Peter Phillips's wedding to Harriet Spurling?
I think you kind of have to let the public know what your intentions are so that when it does happen, you know, people are not surprised. And I think you have to look at yourself as someone who is a leader, who has to make very tough decisions about people who are in your family. But at the same time, it's a business. And I think William is very much justified to say these things about these tightening of certain things and protocols, because that's what he has to do to save the monarchy. I mean, so much has happened with Andrew and, you know, Harry and Meghan that he has to make some very drastic decisions. And sometimes, you know, your family members are going to be caught in between that. But that's the price that has to be paid to make sure that, you know, your legacy of running or being the head of the monarchy goes smoothly. And that's exactly what he is doing, because he is a smart leader. He has very smart people around him helping him to make these decisions and choices. So absolutely, you got to do what you got to do. It's family, but it's also a business.
Well, yes, because you speak about Andrew, and there has been another revelation this week. P. Dina, Epstein's PA, dined with Andrew in his Buckingham Palace rooms. So this is Sarah Kellen, who says Epstein raped her repeatedly, claiming that both Andrew and Fergie were notable people in the paedophile finances network. Let me take you through the report. A woman who said that she was regularly raped by Epstein while working as his assistant has told the US authorities that she was invited to dinner at Buckingham Palace in Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's private rooms. Sarah Callan, who worked for Epstein as a personal assistant for more than a decade from 2001, said that she also attended the 18th birthday party of Andrew's daughter, Princess Beatrice. Kellen testified before the US House Oversight Committee on May the 21st, during which she was questioned about Epstein's network of prominent individuals. In a transcript released by the committee, Kellen identified Andrew and his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, as being notable people in the convicted paedophiles network. She said Prince Andrew was at the New York house. We also went to Andrew's private apartment at Buckingham Palace for dinner, and we were at Princess Beatrice's party at Windsor Castle. Now, Pete Diner, none of those facts are actually new. I mean, we've seen the pictures of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at the palaces posing on the thrones. But it just shows you, doesn't it, that the drip in terms of the revelations for the British royal family, especially given that this testimony was actually made before the US House Oversight Committee, isn't just going to go away. And maybe it does back up what you're saying in terms of why William is doing what he's doing, because, again, we see Princess Beatrice, and maybe it's not entirely her fault because it was her parents' decision, but in some way she's dragged it.
Yeah. And, this is what has to happen, because I think that William knows so much more than we know. I mean, they've seen everything. They know the drip. They know more is coming. And I think at this point, you've just got to put these things, the checks and balances in place, because I think it is so much worse than we have actually seen so far, Dan. So I think William is ahead of this and he knows what he is doing, and good for him, because we still don't know what's going to happen with, the other problem makers, Harry and Meghan. But I think he knows the things with Andrew and what's, happened, and the things that have not been put out there in the public domain. So he's just protecting the monarchy in a way that I think secures it, so that when these things do continue to come out, there are safeguards in place, and, things have been said that he's going to do X, Y, and Z, and we expect it, we've heard it, and we just wait for him to do it. And so it's a good thing. It's a very good strategy, I think.
And Pete Diner, I think my favourite story of the week is this. I know you are a lover like me of Princess Diana, and it's not often that we get something totally new. Okay, totally new. But this week it is totally new. And in some ways I didn't need to know this. Okay, it's private. And I do always feel a little bit queasy when these major auction houses in the United Kingdom auction off letters of not of old dead people, of people who have long died, but I guess their family or their estates or whatever decide to make as much money as possible. So that is how we have discovered these quite extraordinary letters that were exchanged between the actor Terence Stamp and Princess Diana. She confided in the actor about so much, actually, and even sent him risky cards. This was all around 1991. In one letter, Diana thanked Stamp for her perfect risotto for lunch, adding that she was touched to the core by your understanding of my job and role and what it comes with. And obviously she was under a lot of pressure at that point. Marriage was breaking down, so it's cute that they clearly had a close relationship. And also, they had clearly shared, she really trusted him, and she had shared lots of private information about her health too, because she added 3 chairs for Prozac, not the American variety, I hasten to add, referring to the antidepressant, which was widely used back in the 90s. A month later, she writes to Stamp again, thanking him for lunch, caviar this time, before adding no Prozac withdrawals as yet. In December, she writes requesting lunch, this time on a humorous postcard. I'm not going to show you, Pete Diner, because it could actually break the YouTube censorship rules, but it features a bare female breast with the caption, "All the breast." From London, so that's where you get the risque element. The late princess also wrote to Stamp thanking him for the champagne at a lunch a la yeast, in the card featuring a caption in bed which said, "Why did God invent sex? The answer given inside was so that married people do something at least twice a year." Oh, Pete Diner, I love this. I love this. Princess Diana, and people often forget this because she is now like a patron saint, and I think she deserves to be. But she was also a wickedly funny, absolutely cheeky, massive flirt, young woman who had really interesting, fascinating, close relationships with people. And I have to say, even just seeing her handwriting, Pete Diner, it just really, it took me back. Yeah. It took me back to the 90s, and I just thought we miss her. What did you think about these letters? A very quick but personal message from me to you to let you know that the best way you can support Dan Wood and Outspoken is to subscribe to my Substack at www.outspoken.live. Substack is a free speech platform that protects me from big tech cancellation and lawfare. Paid annual or monthly subscribers get an extra hour of content with the Royal Uncancelled After Show available every weekday with no advertising whatsoever. You can also message me direct on there. That's www.outspoken.live.
I think looking at her handwriting and just knowing how down to earth she was, it just really makes me feel so much more closer to this woman that I never got to meet. Like, you see an insight to her private life and what she wrote about something that we've never seen before, and it just warms you to, Diana and who she was. And I love being able to see things like this because it's things that we would have never known otherwise, and it's a little bit of more of Diana being revealed to us every day or whenever these things come out, and I love it, absolutely love it. I just think that Diana was such a fun person. She had a sense of humor and she loved to laugh. I mean, her laugh was infectious. I love to hear her laugh. So to me, it warms my heart. It's really nice that he even had this actor had this special relationship with Diana. How nice. And, she just wasn't stuck up and snobby. And, she was so down to earth with people. I'm not surprised she had this friendship, with this actor and, other people, even some people that she helped, from her charity work, she still kept in contact with. That's just the kind of person she was.
And she
you
was
just have
also
to
one
love
of the
it.
first, wasn't she, Pete Diner, especially
Yeah.
in the royal family, to be open about her mental health issues. And for me,
Right.
I look back
Yeah.
and I think how brilliant that she understood, because remember there'd been the suicide attempts and all of that. So how brilliant that by 1991 she decided, okay, well, I'm gonna go for the Prozac because that's the way that I can
Yeah.
get it together. I respect that. I really do.
Absolutely, I do too. Yeah, and she knew how to handle her mental health. She had a way to address the issues, and I'm almost certain that she talked to her young kids about that at the time as well. Because they were concerned about her health. I know William talked a lot about his mother crying and things around her mental health. So it was something that was commonly spoken about. And good on Diana for taking care of that. She was just a
Yeah.
wonderful woman. Yeah.
P. Diner, thank you so much. It was lovely to get to chat to you about Princess Diana today, because I think Princess Diana was our gateway into loving the British royal family, wasn't she? And it's
Yeah.
so.
Absolutely.
I'm
Mhm.
not saying I necessarily like these letters going up for auction, but at the end of the day,
Okay.
they are up
Yeah.
for auction and it's
Yeah.
been discussed. So I feel
Yeah.
like we could talk about it, and there was nothing damaging in those letters, even
No.
if they were a
No.
little bit cheeky. P. Diner, thank you so
Good
much.
insight.
This video is for news reporting, commentary, and educational purposes. The views expressed are based on publicly available information and personal analysis. We strive for accuracy but encourage viewers to verify information through official sources.